Welcome to Created Healthy. I'm Dawn Combs. It's a common idea that God gave us everything we need in nature, but do we believe it enough to walk that out in truth? Often the very same people who say this go looking for answers on how to use food and medicine from man-made sources. Everything man creates comes with a user's manual. Why would God be any different? I challenge you to join me in seeking revelation about our body, mind, soul, and spirit health by digging into His written word and in practicing pure science in the visible world of His creation. A few weeks ago, I was in Judges 9 and in my podcast, and I read about Jotham and the parable of the trees, and there is so much richness and deepness in this parable, but I wanted to spend some time today and talk through some of the practical applications, some of the science that is here that it reminds me of. So to remind you of the parable, Jotham is the last surviving son of Gideon because Abimelech has wants to become king. He has ambition, and he has participated in killing off all of the rest of Gideon's sons. And Jotham stands on the mountaintop and calls down to all of those that are considering raising Abimelech up as a king, and presents this parable. And interestingly enough, as somebody who studies folklore and storytelling, this is the first time in the Bible that we see the specific language that's used to storytell in the manner of a parable. And after this, it is here, there, and everywhere throughout the Bible. So it's kind of cool. Jotham tells this story about that once upon a time, the trees were asked to become king one by one over all the other trees. And first, the olive tree was asked, and the olive said, if I do that, should I give up all of my gorgeous fatness and oil that makes God and man happy in order to go and do this? And so they go and they ask the fig tree, and the fig tree says, I'm not interested in giving up. What should I give up? My sweetness that is renowned and does so much good everywhere. And so they go to the vine, and the vine says, I'd have to give up making wine, which delights God and man, and that's my purpose, and I'd have to give it up. I'm not interested in giving that up so that I can be king. And then they go to the bramble, and the bramble's like, absolutely, I'll provide you shade and protection. And the irony there is that the bramble is so low that the trees will have to bow and get under, and there won't be any protection, and it will be a sham. And this has been read over and over and over again as a condemnation from Jotham against Abimelech and his choice as king, and how ineffectual he would be, and what a horrible choice he would make. And at the same time, this is a big moment where Israel is asking to be just like all the other people around them, and they want a king. And these are the dangers of asking for a king. Is being pointed out. And I talked a little bit about this at the next time that this whole idea of bringing up a king came about. But this idea that if you're going to rule over everybody, you're going to have to give up your purpose. And so all of us have a God-given purpose. We're all designed with talents and skills and an individual path to be on, that is to glorify God, that is to use who we are and what makes us to take God's kingdom further. And if we have somebody approach us and want to make us a king, this puts us over all the other people in our area, whatever our people group, our region, however this works out. To do that, you have to give up the road that you're on, to pull aside and do something that man wants you to do, that you're nominated and selected to take on this exalted role, means that you're going to give up your God-given purpose. It pulls you off of your road, off of your path. And the trees in this parable are calling that out. I can't do that role of being king over all without having to give up the very thing that makes me unique, that makes me the fig or the olive or the grape, the very thing that God delights the most in and that he uses to give pleasure to man about me. I'm going to have to give up to be a king. And why would I do that? As I read this, it made me remember a lot of times I get this question about, it's always about yarrow. Yarrow is a really common way to get into this conversation, where people will see different colored yarrow at a nursery, and they'll ask me, can I buy, you're telling me all about the properties of yarrow. Yarrow can stop bleeding, and it's amazing in a hormonally imbalanced woman. We can use it internally, we can use it externally. All of its properties go on and on. And so the next question is, I want to landscape with yarrow. I want to have yarrow. If I buy the pink yarrow, is that okay? If I buy the yellow yarrow, there's all these different colors that have been created, called cultivars in the plant world, that are pleasing to the eye. And if I get that because it'll look pretty in my landscape, can I use it for the medicine? And I have to explain that there are levels of monkeying with nature that we've done here. And the most innocent is for us to do selection based on our own preferences. We see this in vegetables, sadly, where we have selected for the cucumber with the least bitter skin. And that's so wonderful, because now we're not eating a bitter cucumber with the sweetness on the inside, but then our digestion is compromised because the bitter was there for a reason. And it was innocent. We weren't trying to cross it with pig DNA and change it into something that is some Franken food. And we've done that with flowers. We've done that with things that are medicinal in innocent ways. Yarrow is one of them. We've selected for odd offshoots of different colors and then purposely bred out that plant to get the flower. And I usually answer with, yes, you can probably interchange different color yarrows as long as the leaf isn't super modified. And there is a yarrow that looks almost like a dusty miller. It's very thick. The leaves are thick and silver gray, and they don't look like the true yarrow, Achillea milfolium, where it's got this beautiful feathery, delicate green leaf structure. When we get to something that has that silver and that thickness and it looks different, I really start to worry that we have selected for that color and we're losing the benefit. Because the reality is that when we monkey with our plants with an eye towards what we think we want, for everything that we select because we want it, we have deselected for something else. We are losing part of what that plant really is. Because as I've explained before, there are so many chemicals found within that plant that we really don't understand yet. And we definitely, not only do we not understand those chemicals singularly, we also don't understand them individually. And and how they work together in synergy, in combination. And so every time we select for something in a plant because it's going to be pleasing to the eye or pleasing to the palate, we are deselecting for what it was originally. And that might not be a problem. It might not, in the end, cause us to lose, in the case of yarrow, it might not cause us to lose all of the medicinal benefits that are there in the original plant before we began to create cultivars. But I can't say for sure, because I know that every selected trait that is different than the original is losing some of the original as a trade-off. And so I think about this parable, and I think about that Jotham is talking about a dimension that maybe only a botanist like me can see, but it's a truth. It's a truth that's in nature. It's a truth that's in our world. And we're seeing it reflected in the truth that the point that he's trying to make, that we can't select away from, in us, if we select away from the path that we're on, the leadership quality that we have, or we're good looking and great, straight, shiny teeth, and that gets selected as, ooh, you should be a leader above all. That trait gets selected out, and then the mission that trait was actually on originally gets replaced with something that's pleasing to man, and it's not the same outcome. We see this again and again and again, and I think that when we read it in the Bible and we can see a layered story like this with many, many aspects of truth, if we can look at it in nature and say, here it is again. Jotham's parable is a true story that we can see under the microscope in the gas chromatograph. We can see it, that we are changing the path of the vine when we decide that we're going to select away for something that pleases us as men, instead of it doing only what God intended for it to do to begin with. And these trees are speaking truth for all of the plant world. Don't monkey with us. We don't want to do something other than the original path of glorying God and serving man that we were put here for. And if you pull us away, it's going to be a problem. I love this story. I'm sure I can continue to peel away layers of this, but Jotham in the parable of the trees has much more in it than just an angry young man standing on a hilltop trying to put down a greedy older man who wants to be king. I will see you back here next time. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share with a friend. And I'm always interested in hearing what God is laying on your heart. So drop me a rating or review, or join the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube at Dawn Combs Really.